Ecclesiastes 1:9. The thing that has been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there's no new thing under the sun. The scriptures are very clear. In Deuteronomy 4:19 it tells us, and I'm sorry if I sound winded or if I pause the video. I'm still having a little bit, breathing issues. But Deuteronomy 4:19, and take heed lest you lift your eyes to heaven, and when you see the sun, the moon, and the stars, all the host of heaven, you feel driven to worship them and serve them. It tells us to take heed, to be careful. And then it goes further, which the Lord your God has given to all people under the whole heaven as heritage. God did not give us those things to be worshipped, yet they are worshipped. Yet traditions of sun worship still remain in the church. And we're going to talk about all these things later on. We'll be talking about how in Hinduism, Buddhism, and Catholic Church, how all of these things of sun worship are all around us. But before we do, let's talk a little bit about the history of how sun worship got started. And there are many of you who can explain this in 20,000 ways better than me. And that's a good thing. So please use the comment section. But let's discuss this in love. I'm not here coming to you today thinking that I know more than you, or that I'm the smartest man in the world. On the contrary, I'm a very, very flawed man, and compare everything I tell you with the scriptures and with research, because that's the key thing, research. Now, part of the history of sun worship begins in Genesis 11:2 through 4. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to one another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build a city, and a tower, whose top may reach unto the heavens, and let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. God had told man to spread all over the earth, to procreate all over the earth. But Nimrod, in his rebellion, he led people to ensure that they rebelled from that command that God gave. Their goal was to make a name for themselves. And what better way for you to make a name of yourself than to make pagan idol gods in the name of yourself? And that's exactly what they did. Nimrod, if you read in Genesis 10:8 through 10, you can see that Nimrod was the son of Cush. Okay, and he was a mighty hunter on this earth. Okay, he was a mighty hunter of men. He was a mighty hunter of animals. He was a mighty hunter of anything that came against the plans that he had, which was total rebellion against Yahweh. You can find even secular evidence of Nimrod in the Epic of Gilgamesh. The Epic of Gilgamesh, it's about, the long story short, about a legendary hero who came to fight against the one who brought the global flood. Osiris, in the secular, in actual history, Osiris was Nimrod. So these are things that you can see even in the secular. So it's amazing to me that people reject the scriptures, and when the scriptures are accurate and correct. But Nimrod brought forth teachings of mystery religions. He is the one who originated astrology, magic, fallen angels. He encouraged people to have communion with fallen angels. He would tell people that he had specific knowledge and wisdom about the pre-flood era. Some actually believe that he was a fallen angel himself. I can't conclude upon, but I'm just giving you as much information as I can so that you can understand that I've researched all of it to make sure that I bring you forth something that's not biased. But his goal, he was inspired by Satan, was to bring people to worship anything other than God himself. Now, according to many research that I've done, Shem saw what he was doing. So Shem gathered 72 different people with him to destroy Nimrod. And what he did was, he had his body cut up and spread it across all of the lands. Now, when he spread them all across of the lands, he did so that those that worshipped them in those lands could see that he wasn't God, that he was indeed a man, and he was cut up in pieces and he was dead. So what happened is, here you have another character. Her name is Semiramis, which is better known as Isis, the Queen of Heaven, Ishtar, Easter, all the different names that she goes by. Astarte, Artemis, Diana, Venus, and Valentine's Day. Venus, that you see with the Cupid. Cupid is essentially Horus, Osiris. Sun worship is all around us. Open your eyes and you will see it. All of these are pagan beliefs. So Semiramis, she had originally married Cush, but then she turned around and married her son Nimrod. She did all of this for power. So when she saw that Nimrod was dead, she didn't want to just be left behind and had nothing, no power, no nothing. So what she did was she went ahead and sent an army to gather all of the missing pieces. Okay, so they went and they followed all of the missing pieces. And once again, I'm sorry that I sound winded. I'm still trying to, do the best I can here. She gathered all of the missing pieces except for one, and that was his reproductive organ. She claimed that Nimrod could not come back to life without that reproductive organ, so he now ascended into the sun and now was called Baal, the sun god. So immediately people started looking up at the sun, and when they looked at the sun, they said, wait a second, that's where he's now. That's where our God is, Baal, the sun god. And that's what they started worshiping from that point across on forward. One of the items made in remembrance of Nimrod's missing reproductive organ is the obelisk, and we'll be talking about that later on. Now, a few examples of how wicked she was. She claimed to be a goddess. Okay, she claimed to be a virgin, the virgin, birth. She claimed that she came down from the moon in a giant egg, and that her name started from that point on. Her name also started to be called Ishtar, later pronounced Easter. So if you look at a lot of the church traditions nowadays, they have a day called Easter, and they have a bunny, which is significant for fertility, and they have the egg. Easter, the egg, fertility, that's goddess worship. And that's some of the things that have infiltrated the church, that it's part of sun worship. Okay, now what she did after that, after she claimed that Baal was now the sun god, she then became pregnant. The father is unknown, but she claimed to be the fulfillment of Genesis 3:15. She claimed that she was that virgin with child who came, and that basically one of the sun rays of Baal impregnated her, and she now gave birth to Horus, which in the scriptures is known as Tammuz. Okay, now Tammuz was much like his father. He was also a hunter. He also promoted a lot of the mystery religions. Okay, so basically the bottom line is this: sun worship turned into Baal worship. Okay, but it's nothing more, nothing else than Satan worship. It disguised in a different package. So 2 Kings 23:5. Let's see what that says. Do we find sun worship in the Bible? Do we find it? Yes, we do. And he put down the idolatrous priest, whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah, and in the places around about Jerusalem. Them also that burn incense unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the host of heaven. So here we see that there were people burning incense to Baal, the sun god, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the host of heaven. So we see this happening in the Old Testament. God warned us in Deuteronomy 4:19 to take heed not to worship those things, yet they still did it. And you're probably saying to yourself, yeah, but this can never happen in the church. It couldn't. Well, in Ezekiel 8:12-18, we see an example of it happening in actual house of the Lord. Then he said unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chambers of his imagery, for they say, the Lord sees us not, and the Lord has forsaken the earth. He said also unto me, Turn ye yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was towards the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz, weeping for Baal, my brothers and my sisters. That was sun worship. Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn ye yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their back towards the temple of the Lord, and their faces towards the east, and they worshipped the sun towards the east. So we see in 2 Kings 23:5 that there was sun worship. I'm going to pause for a moment. Hold up. All right, I'm back. And we see also that in Ezekiel 8:12 through 18, we see that there was sun worship there as well. So this is something that happened then in the house of the Lord, and this is something that's happening now in the house of the Lord. There's a lot of Masonic pastors in seminary schools. There's a lot of Masonic pastors in the church. Not all in seminary are Masonic. Not all in churches are Masonic. But I'm going to read you an excerpt from a magazine. U.S. membership in the Masons is claimed about 3 million, with about 5 million worldwide. The official magazine of Masonry in the U.S. is titled New Age. Some church denominations are also led by avowed Masons. For example, a 1991 survey by the Southern Baptist Convention Sunday School Board found that 14% of SBC pastors and 18% of SBC deacon board chairs are Masons. It is also estimated that SBC members comprise 37% of the total U.S. lodge membership. A 2000 updated SBC report found that over 1,000 SBC pastors are Masons. Okay, now that's a lot. That's a huge number. So what happened then is happening now, and that's amazing. That's amazing to me. It's amazing to me. Revelation 18:4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive her plagues. If we want to see the power of God move in our churches, in our congregations, in our homes, in our ministries, we have to make sure that we have no part of this harlot. This end-time harlot is in the Catholic Church, is in the modern Christian church, is even in Hebrew Israelite movements. The harlot does not care about its disguise. The only thing that it cares is about making sure that you worship anything other than God himself. Just to give you another example of how sun worship is in today preeminent, and you can see it in the Catholic Church. Now, the Catholic Church itself has what is considered the biggest solar wheel on the planet, making that church what it truly is, the harlot of Revelation. Now, in between that big solar wheel that it has an obelisk. Okay, the reason for them having that obelisk is because according to them that shows what they overcame. But Deuteronomy 7:5 says, But thus shall ye deal with them, ye shall destroy their altars, and break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. So their excuse that they are putting there in honor to remember what they've done is not valid according to scriptures. You can see that same solar wheel in Buddhism. Buddhism has the wheel of Dharma, and this has a wheel of Dharma essentially because it has 8 spokes invoking sun rays. It's sun worship. In Hinduism, they also have a solar wheel called the Kalakra, and this is another symbol for sun worship. In Wicca, the New Agers, the pagans, they also have a wheel which is called the Wheel of the Year, and it also have different solstices. It's sun worship. The same wheel in different types of religions, the same obelisk that you find in Washington, D.C. It's all around us. Sun worship is all around us. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to turn to the true thought of the scriptures, or are you going to continue to practice these sun worship traditions? Christmas, Easter, Halloween, all of these. Christmas is the birth of Tammuz. Easter is the worship of Isis, which is the Statue of Liberty. If you look at that, that's also Isis with the sun rays as well. It's all around us. I'm out of time, sadly, but we'll keep on discussing in another video. My limit is now 15 minutes, which is not good. But God bless you. Hopefully you enjoyed at least this portion of it. God bless. Another video is coming.